well, what about Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee? Offering respondents that choice as well. In the polls that have tested both of them, here's the average for Harris versus Trump. Not much different. Harris does do a point better than Biden. 45 goes to 46, and the average Trump stays at 47. So at least at the beginning, if Democrats do go with Harris, they'd be taking a candidate trailing by 2 on average, replacing with a candidate who trails by 1 on average. Of course, the question is the introduction of Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate, the Democratic convention, the new attention on her. Would that help those numbers? Would that improve them? Conversely, would that hurt those numbers potentially if the rollout doesn't go that well? Those are some of the variables, though. But that's the starting point on head-to-head. And we also look at the basic image of each candidate. When we ask the question, favorable or unfavorable view do you have? Again, the average for Joe Biden has been very bad. 36% favorable, 57% unfavorable. Now, Kamala Harris, where does she clock in here? Little bit better, but not much. 36 to 38 on the favorable side, and the unfavorable comes down 57 to 52. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, who she'd like to run against now, you see where he stands. These numbers are a bit better for him than they've been in the past. 41% favorable, 55 unfavorable. And again, whether it's Kamala Harris or if it happens to be anybody else, whoever emerges as the Democratic candidate, just the basic challenge they're facing is this.
We were here in 2016 and we are back again. Get your uniforms ready, get your silk presses, your Chuck Taylors, get it ready. November 5th, we are going to show up and show the fuck out. White women, I'm gonna need you to get it together this time around. Go get your pink kitty cat hats and get ready to vote for democracy. Remember, I am woman, hear me roar, and y'all in all these Handmaid's Tale outfits and all this other stuff. Get your ass to the polls and get ready to vote for Kamala Harris.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're getting news left and right, guys. I can't keep up with all the news that is coming out. However, we are starting to make sense of the nonsense that is happening in the Democrat Party. The pure chaos as Joe Biden has dropped out. Now, what we're learning is that the Democrat Party is not only not democratic, but they are anti-democratic. They're showing us exactly how the juice is squeezed behind closed doors in order to nominate the next puppet to lead their party, because it has become clear throughout this process that the President of the United States, at least if they are a Democrat, is nothing more than a puppet, okay? And we also know, based off past primaries, that Democrats have the illusion of democracy in the sense that they will try to shift things around in their own party to favor the candidate that they want. They did that with Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders in 2016, and then they did it again for Joe Biden in 2020. And now in 2024, Democrats are showing us a new trick, which is that when democracy doesn't work out in their favor within their party, well, they have a failsafe that they can use to overthrow the democratically elected nominee, which is essentially what they just did to Joe Biden, right? They just overthrew Joe Biden. They pushed him out via a coup. And now, allegedly, Kamala Harris is going to take the reins after getting an endorsement from Joe Biden. However, let's pump the brakes here, because it seems as if the Democrat elites, the real power brokers that make the decisions behind closed doors, they're not sold on Kamala. In fact, it seems as if they are moving forward with the next part of the coup, right? The coup part 2, which is against Kamala Harris, because we do know that behind closed doors, there have been talks of an open convention because Democrats, the elites, don't want Kamala Harris to be the nominee. Now, they don't all have to agree. They're not all on the same page, because we have seen endorsements from a ton of prominent Democrats for Kamala Harris being the nominee, most notably Hillary Clinton, who has come out here and endorsed Kamala Harris. You also have Gavin Newsom, Roy Cooper, Josh Shapiro, AOC. And again, this is important because a lot of those people have been speculated as potential challengers for Kamala Harris if the Democrats have an open convention. And I want to dive deeper into this, because watching what is happening to the Democrats right now is like watching a slow-moving car wreck. And if you happen to get in a car wreck and get injured, then you probably should have good representation that will fight for you, which is why the sponsor of this video is Morgan and Morgan. Guys, I've been injured in a motor vehicle accident. You've probably been injured in a motor vehicle accident, or somebody that you know. Okay, we all have somebody that we know, whether it be ourselves or somebody else, that has been injured. And sometimes that injury can be worth millions of dollars. And this is why the sponsor of today's video is Morgan & Morgan, who wants to let you know that they do not settle for lowball offers, because oftentimes that is exactly what insurance companies try to do to clients. But Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you what you deserve if you become their client. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They have won a lot, and it only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case. And as America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan is ready and prepared to take on insurance companies of every size. If you are in an accident or injured in any way, you should know how to protect your rights. Don't overthink it. Take actions to protect your rights today. For example, they have achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. They had a $12 million settlement out in Florida, 34 times the insurance offer, and $26 million out in Philadelphia, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And the best part is that the fee is absolutely free unless you win. If you've ever got seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you are just a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. And it is so easy. You can start your claim today with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/blackconservative, which is the special link in the description, or you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen in order to get started.
CBS News is doing a lot of reporting, and I want to make sure we get to all of the new information that is just coming in. Robert Costa, I know you have something new you want to share with us.
Yes. So sources close to several of the people who might be considered possible challengers to Vice President Harris for the nomination, people close to California Governor Gavin Newsom, people close to Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, all saying they're preparing to stand down. They do not believe that Democrats will challenge Vice President Kamala Harris at the convention in Chicago. Already in this immediate aftermath of President Biden's momentous decision, you see behind the scenes Democratic consolidation. The real race will be for vice presidential nomination on the Democratic side, but it is intriguing to me as a reporter, but there's no one at this moment preparing behind the scenes to challenge Vice President Harris.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, although you have some Democrat power brokers like Hillary Clinton who have come out and endorsed Kamala Harris, some other Democrat Party power brokers have stopped short of backing Kamala Harris, including Nancy Pelosi, who, if you guys remember last year, she basically had a really hard time endorsing Kamala Harris for vice president.
Vice President Kamala Harris, the best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters. And by the way,
you think so?
She's very politically astute. I don't think people give her enough credit. She's, of course, values-based, consistent with the president's values and the rest. And people don't understand, she's politically astute. Why would she be vice president if she were not? But when she was running for attorney general in California, she had 6% in the polls. 6% in the polls. And she politically astutely made her case about why she would be good, did her politics, and became attorney general. So people shouldn't underestimate what Kamala Harris brings to the table.
But do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president. That's the job description. You don't do that much. You're a source of strength, inspiration, intellectual resource, and the rest. I think she's represented our country very well at home and abroad.
Yeah, so again, it's not a surprise to me that Pelosi has stopped short of endorsing Kamala Harris, but the big surprise actually is Obama, who has stopped short of endorsing Kamala Harris. And this is why I'm pumping the brakes on Kamala Harris is automatically going to be the nominee party that some people are having, because it seems as if Obama is the god of the Democrat Party, because Joe Biden told us, hey, I'm not dropping out unless the Almighty says so. Well, Obama spoke, the Almighty, and Joe Biden dropped out. And the almighty Obama, right, for the Democrats, that is, right? Okay, this is just a figure of speech. I don't want anybody to think I'm, trying to be blasphemous here. But the Democrat Party almighty Obama has not spoken on Kamala Harris, at least as of the making of this video, which strongly suggests that the coup is not over yet.
What I found interesting too from Barack Obama's statement this morning, and bearing in mind it's the first public statement that we've seen from Barack Obama in a while. Obviously, he talked highly of Joe Biden's decision, but what was interesting there is that there was no endorsement of Kamala Harris. What do you make of that? Is that a suggestion to you that Mr. Obama wants an open convention?
Yes, I think absolutely it is. I mean, he would have endorsed her if he wanted her to be anointed, if you like. Definitely. I mean, Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi have made it clear to colleagues that they want to see an open contest here. They don't want Kamala Harris just to be put into the position. They think it's not a good look for that to happen, firstly. And secondly, of course, there could be another candidate who might be more effective against Donald Trump than Kamala Harris. But you've really got the Democratic Party split on this, Pete. A lot of people, Bill Clinton, for example, has come out in the last hour or so and has endorsed Kamala Harris. There's a lot of people who want the party just to coalesce around Harris. They think that's less divisive. They think it's the only way to go forward without more divisions within the party. But then, of course, you have the Barack Obamas and Nancy Pelosi's who want an open contest. And so that's really the big debate that we're going to see play out here in the next few days in Washington.
Isn't the trouble too, and I know you've spoken about this too, when it comes to Kamala Harris, I mean, she's got that huge block of voters, the black vote there, and, you'd have to think that they'd be very upset if Kamala Harris wasn't at the top of the ticket, right, Cam?
Yeah, allegedly, they will be upset. That's the question, okay? Like, what cost would the Democrats have to suffer in order to overthrow Kamala, right? To stage the coup against Kamala. Now, again, what I find to be hilarious about this is that the black liberals are complaining, saying that it is the white power structure that is trying to get rid of Kamala, right? It is racism and sexism, but it's Obama and Nancy Pelosi behind the scenes orchestrating the coup against Biden and Kamala, right? So again, I'm trying to figure out the racism and sexism angle here, unless you're trying to say that Obama's white half, right, is the one that doesn't want Kamala to be president of the United States, or, somehow Nancy Pelosi is, a racist, right? This is essentially the type of mental gymnastics that a lot of these people will have to do in order to back up these claims of bigotry. But yeah, they're saying that if Kamala Harris is not the nominee, that will be mutually assured destruction for the Democrat Party.
Note that it is black and brown Democrats who are opposing this push out. I think there's one African-American Democrat who's for pushing Biden out. And note that it is consultants and non-people of color Democrats who are on the other side. Just an interesting thing to note. And the last thing I'll note is, where are the voters who are being asked about this, and also the people who would have the job of actually getting out this vote? They're not being asked. No one's asking them. Apparently the donors and the sort of elite Dems are just kind of doing their own thing. Weird time to be a Democrat. Let me know what you think in comments.
I think there is absolutely going to be a Democratic primary next time around. We don't have time for a Democratic primary right now. And look, I get the idea of what you all are putting forward, like, can all these other candidates go out there and hit the road and campaign for the job? That's not how any of this works, right? There's no more voting. The convention is a couple of weeks away. So there, the campaign, we have the campaign to the delegates, and the idea that we're going to take this nomination away from Joe Biden and give it to someone that the voters in the primary never voted for is, I think, a recipe for absolute disaster. And particularly if they step over the vice president here, it becomes really, look, I'm going to be really straightforward. If the Democrats want to give the White House back to Donald Trump, let them go into a nomination process, open nomination process, and disrespect and step over the first black woman vice president in this country, and they will be committing absolute suicide. absolute suicide. That is a surefire way for Donald Trump to become president again.
Yeah, so I think this guy's correct in the sense that if the Democrats do have an open convention, that would be a disaster for Democrats. Okay, it would be an absolute disaster. However, Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and others, so it seems, with their lack of endorsement for Kamala Harris as of the making of this video, it could change, right? It could change at any time. But as I am making this video, they have not endorsed Kamala, basically signaling that, hey, we're counting for an open convention. And although you have some governors that could challenge Kamala, essentially dropping out by endorsing her, you still have a challenger that is stepping up to the plate to potentially challenge Kamala Harris.
A little bit of news, not exactly along these lines, but, and also not exactly unexpected, but of course, here it is. Two sources telling NBC News that Senator Joe Manchin is considering running for president. This is according to two people who spoke with him. Senator Manchin, of course, is not a member of the Democratic Party. He's an independent. He launched a nonprofit called Americans Together last year. He has long both invited and stoked speculation that he would be a presidential candidate at some point if he sees this as his moment. Again, to me, not surprising given the history of Joe Manchin. I don't have any idea what that would do in terms of this process. Whether or not the Democrats, in some organized way, try to create some semblance of a primary rather than just endorsing Vice President Harris, we shall see. But it's at this point, it feels to me like the process is potentially nebulous, but the outcome is not.
Sources close to Senator Joe Manchin say that he is now considering re-registering as a Democrat to throw his hat in the ring. Do you support that?
Well, what I support, I support the beauty of the frictionless process, or the friction process of democracy. This is democracy, and we should be proud that every time we change power, we do it in a peaceful way, and whomever wants to run, they should have a right to do so, and we make the decision who the best to represent our party.
All right. Well, Mayor Adams, I appreciate your time. We all do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I find it notable how one of the most racist mayors in the country, Eric Adams, did not endorse his soul sister, right? All that chocolate, Kamala Harris, to be president of the United States. Okay, when asked about Joe Manchin getting into the race, okay, Eric Adams is kind of like, well, we should just let the process play out. Okay, let it play out. Which tells you everything you need to know about how Eric Adams feels about the Biden administration. I mean, he actually has a legitimate reason to not like the Biden administration and to want them removed because of this border crisis situation that his city is dealing with, and the fact that the Biden administration won't give New York more federal funds or won't grant work permits for the illegals to get to working. Again, the Biden administration has been a pain in the butt for Eric Adams. So I kind of get why he's taking that position. But you have Joe Manchin here who is thinking about jumping into the race. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, the reason why it's a big deal is because it shows that Democrats, in fact, are not on the same page, right? That there are factions within the Democrat Party, even within the elite circles, okay? All the elites don't even agree on the same thing, okay? Now, the elites make the final decision, but they don't all have to agree, right? That's essentially how this is shaping out. But what you're seeing here is if Joe Manchin actually decides to jump into the race, that means that there's going to be more chaos, there's going to be more divisiveness, there's going to be more hate, more vitriol among Democrats, the more challengers that Kamala has, right? The fact that you have Joe Manchin already coming out here and saying that, hey, I might challenge Kamala, tells you that Kamala isn't a safe bet. And because she wasn't actually really elected, even though they did choose Joe Biden in the primary, Kamala Harris was not at the top of the ticket, right? They still voted for Joe Biden. He can make an argument that, hey, you guys just nominating Kamala without people voting is extremely undemocratic. And again, that could cause more chaos and destruction within the Democrat Party. Now, again, a lot of these politicians, they are in it for themselves. They're in it for power and control. They're very narcissistic. So when they see an opportunity like this to take out somebody weak like Kamala, because again, Kamala's weak. She's super weak, okay? If any one of these other governors decides to get in that actually has a chance, there's a decent shot of them actually beating Kamala because she's just that unlikable. Again, Kamala dropped out of the Democrat primary when she was running for president before a vote was even cast. That is how bad she is. That is how unlikable she is. Now, again, things have changed since then. She's been vice president. People dislike her even more now, right? That's what happened. So she's vulnerable. So in my opinion, you have Pelosi, Obama, them not endorsing her yet tells you everything you need to know about the opening that there is for somebody to challenge her, okay? And this is early in the process. It's just getting started. We really don't know yet, okay? We really don't know. Somebody else could come out the woodwork and challenge her at the convention. They could pick up steam. The media is going to be covering this 24/7. So anybody that tries to challenge Kamala, they're going to get a lot of coverage, okay? We could see an actual contested convention. Now, I still think it's unlikely. I think Joe Biden endorsing Kamala made it a lot harder to complete the coup. But Obama and Pelosi are signaling that they're still going to try to do it, right? That there's still an opening. They still feel like there's a chance they could get rid of Kamala, but we really don't know yet. All I know is that as conservatives, we should be cheering on the Democrats possibly having an open convention, because if they have an open convention, okay, that will destroy the Democrat Party, right? It will destroy their chances of beating Trump, and it's something they will not be able to recover from, especially if they end up overthrowing Kamala Harris, okay? So again, let's cheer for the open convention, right? This probably is the first time I've ever been on the side of Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. But in this case, because I'm a cynical person, right, I gotta say I'm rooting for an open convention just like they are, because that plays into our hands. It helps Trump, right? It helps Republicans. It helps conservatives for Democrats to stay divided, okay? So we should hope that they do not unify and that somebody steps up and challenges Kamala at the convention, because the infighting will be glorious, right? It will be the best reality show ever, okay? Ever. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.